Rules of the Road, Chapter 2. Keep going. I ran back to Gladstone's shoes, pushing aside pain and anger. Murray said customers are like wild animals. They can tell when you're upset, and they'll use it against you. Smile. A few people in the store, but Murray was handling it. Mrs. Gladstone was studying the Johnston and Murphy display like it held the secret to life. Maybe I could tiptoe around her into the... Your father, said Mrs. Gladstone in her soft Texas drawl, is quite a... My body clenched. I'm sorry about him, ma'am. If you don't want me to work here anymore, I'll understand. Mrs. Gladstone folded her skinny arms across her chest. I was toast. I would not fall apart if I got fired. I'd just take my stuff and go. What manure, she spat. I guess I wasn't fired. Why would I penalize you for something that is clearly your father's problem? She stood there waiting. Well, what could I say to her? What could I say to anyone? My father has had this problem all my life, and if I had one wish in this world, it would be that he could beat it. But you know how it is with wishes. Some you catch, and others are like trying to grab Jell-O. Mom's note on the dining room table to me and Faith read, Daughters of mine, in case you hadn't noticed, no one has seen the top of our dining room table in months. I seem to recall it is oak, but as the days dwindle by, I'm less and less sure. Perhaps this is because your school books, files, papers, magazines, letters, underwear, etc. are shielding it from normal use. My goal for you, dear offspring, to be accomplished in 24 hours, no excuses, is the clearing, exhuming of this place so that we may gather around it once again and spend quality time. Even though I am working the night shift, I will still be watching. Do it or die. Your loving mother. My younger sister Faith patted in, holding a box of extra heavy garbage bags. At 14, Faith was beautiful beyond knowing. Blonde, green-eyed, finely cut cheekbones, an example of what God could do if he was paying attention. It used to bug me that she got all the gorgeous genes, but like my grandmother always said, there's a downside to everything. I can walk into a room looking like I've slept in a torture chamber with poisonous snakes, and people mostly ignore it. But when Faith looks bad, she's got a crowd around her, telling her about it. You want the front half or the back? She asked, turning up her perfect nose at the table. Faith always seemed put together. Her head matched her neck. Her long legs matched the rest of her body. I felt like I'd been glued together with surplus parts. My shoulders were big and boxy. My legs were long and skinny. I had a swan-thin neck that held my round head in place. I studied the table to figure out which half had the least work. If we split it lengthwise, down the middle, I said, you take the one closest to you. That's got more stuff, Jenna. Precisely. I saw Dad. Faith sat down. You did? I told her. Oh, Jenna, you must have been mortified. It hasn't hit me yet. Faith fidgeted on the chair. She tugged at her long ponytail. Did he mention me? Of course. He hadn't. Well, what did he say? He misses you and wishes he could have come around more and wonders how you're doing. I always told her this. There's a responsibility that comes with being a big sister. I guess she believed me, although you can't always tell with Faith. Last Father's Day, she was storming around the house, slamming doors, telling everybody to buzz off. She was fine. Father's Day is my least favorite holiday. I can never find the right card. I can't send, Dad, I can always count on you ones. I nix the thanks for everything and you're the greatest. What the world needs is an alternative dad card. Dad, I love you, even though you haven't been there for me. Faith lifted a stack of fashion magazines from the table, like they weighed 6 tons. She is probably going to become a model someday, even though I warned her that smiling and twirling under hot lights has been medically proven to cause shallowness. I think it's fine to look the best you can, but when that's the biggest thing you can concentrate on, you can miss the fun of life's grungier moments, like hanging around in men's pajamas, eating pork fried rice from the carton with chopsticks, and not caring how much gets ground in the rug. Do you think he does miss us? Faith asked. I think he's got a disease, Faith, that keeps him from being the person he could be. I learned this when I went to Al-Anon, a group that helps families of alcoholics. Al-Anon. I think that means Alcoholics Anonymous. Faith didn't go. Faith is handling things, Mom explained. She doesn't have the memories you do, Jenna. She was so young when your father and I got divorced. It made me feel like some big infected boil that needed lancing. Faith always got off easy. Faith looked over at the cover of Vogue sadly. Do you think he ever misses us, Jenna? I mean, really? I grabbed a garbage bag. I don't know. If he really cared about us, he'd stop drinking. It's not that easy, I said. Well, don't you think I know that, Jenna? What do you think I am, some moron? That's not a very nice word. Faith flung her hand across the corner of the table, knocked my personal pile of travel and leisure magazines on the floor, ran into her room and slammed the door. Part of me felt like kicking in the door, telling her to grow up. It wasn't my fault she never saw Dad. It's not like she was missing much. Everyone loses when Dad comes back. I knelt down to pick up the travel magazines, knocked one off the top with an article about Texas. Everything is bigger in Texas, the headline read. I threw it at Faith's closed door. I don't think you're a moron, I shouted as Faith's sobs filled the apartment. I was standing at the stove, having just flipped my world-class grilled mozzarella and tomato sandwich in the pan. It was perfectly brown on one side. The mozzarella cheese was melting and oozing from between the 7-grain bread. Ooze was the whole point of a grilled cheese sandwich. My grandmother taught me that. I read my mother's note that she had taped over the sink of dirty dishes. Someone washed these. It doesn't matter who. What matters is that when I return home after 10 hours on my feet of patching up emergency patients, that I will not see the pot roast pan from 4 days ago with petrified gravy still on it. Make no mistakes about it. This is a test. It was signed YLM for Your Loving Mother. Mom is an emergency room nurse at St. Joseph's Hospital and is working the night shift for the time and a half for time and a half pay. That means because no one wants to work the night shift, she gets if you were getting paid $10 an hour, time and a half pay would be your $10 plus another half. So what does that make? 15, right? Because half of 10 is 5. We don't see her much, which is hard, but Mom's schedule is toughest on Faith. She needs more of Mom's time than I do. Faith is at that age where she hasn't seen enough of the world to know that she can handle herself. Mom works hard to spend time with each of us. She and I take long walks together all around Chicago. Being type A personalities, we do our best talking when we're moving. The thing we've got most in common is our independent streak. We know how to take care of ourselves, and we like being on our own. But sometimes my mother goes into guilt overdrive, saying how she should have been tougher on Dad and left him sooner. Then she tries to make up for everything in my life that she thinks made me the social zero that I am today. Wouldn't you like to have a big party, she asks. I know we didn't have your friends over much when you were younger, but parties are a good way to get to know more people. Not really, Mom. I don't like crowds much. Maybe you should go to ballroom dancing classes, Jenna. Having social dancing skills is always important later in life. The boys come up to my armpits, Mom. Maybe you shouldn't work such long hours, honey. I'd like you to have time just to be a teenager. I'm trying to make money, Mom. I like selling shoes. I'm more like my dad than my mom. That used to scare me because I thought it meant I'd end up like him. But Grandma sat me down and said how God managed to give me the best parts of my father, his sales ability, his business sense, without all the tragedy. I studied my sandwich in the pan. It had achieved perfection. I put it on a plate with red grapes and dill pickles, counted 15 seconds, the exact amount of time to wait before biting into a grilled cheese without burning the roof of my sensitive teenage mouth. The phone rang. I waited 2 rings, 3. Faith, the phone queen, wasn't getting it, which meant she was still having her snit. 4 rings. I grabbed it. Hello? Jenna Bowler, if you please, said the familiar southern voice. Speaking. This is Madeline Gladstone. I stood at attention. Are you there? She asked. Yes, ma'am. I racked my brain. I locked the storage closet before I left today, counted the money. Murray took it to the bank. Is everything okay at the store, Miss Gladstone? It is. I waited. I have a proposal for you. You do? You drive, I assume. You mean like a car? That was the concept, yes. I've had my license for 6 months. You drive properly? Yes. Faith had just come into the kitchen to forage for food. She was opening and closing doors, shaking Tupperware containers. She was doing this while practicing model poses and expressions. Fashion models don't smile much. They get paid to look like someone just pinched them from behind. Faith saw my grilled cheese, started towards it. I grabbed the plate, held it over my head. Faith tried grabbing it, but she's only 5'8". I had 3 inches on her. Grandma always said it's a blessing to be tall. Come to my home tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, Jenna. You can drive me downtown in my Cadillac. After that, we'll see. I don't understand. Mrs. Gladstone sighed. I need a driver. A driver? This was a full-fledged disaster waiting to happen. She gave me her address on Astor Street. Miss Gladstone, I've only driven a 12-year-old Honda Civic, never a Cadillac. But that will change tomorrow, won't it? Good night. But, click. I felt the color drain from my face. I put the plate down. Who is that? Faith asked. I hung up the receiver, sat down on the wobbly stool by the sink. I'd never driven a Cadillac. You've never driven in a Cadillac. Faith countered, grabbing half of my sandwich. Morning, 5:44. I lay in bed looking at the ceiling. A spider's web hung between the corners, camouflaged against my ivory walls. A fly buzzed around it. Stupid, I said to the fly. You're going to be brunch. The fly buzzed closer to the web. Too close. He struggled against the sticky threads. A spider came down from a string on the ceiling. Any last words, fly? The spider watched the fly until it stopped moving, then dug in. Life and death played out before my very eyes. You don't see things if you clean your room properly. 5:55. The alarm blared. I turned it off, eased my numb self up, headed for the shower, wondering if Dad made it to Sue Ann's, rounded the pictured wall of family photo memories. Mom glaring at a roasted pig at a Hawaiian luau. Faith modeling a surgical pantsuit at a hospital charity luncheon. Me at the beach, submerged in sand from neck down. Beware of teen written across my stomach. My grandmother, like I always remember her, bent over her Singer sewing machine, bright fabric everywhere. The photo was taken in her tailor shop on Clark Street before she was diagnosed with the Alzheimer's disease that took piece after piece of her memory until her old self was all but gone. Grandma was my best friend. She understood everything about me, how serious I could get, how hard I worked at my part-time jobs. When I was 12, I won the Chicago Tribune Blood and Guts Award for selling more daily and Sunday subscriptions than any paper kid in the city or suburbs. Grandma said she always knew I was going to win something big. She took me out to dinner at Wok World, my favorite Chinese restaurant, and stuck my winner's plaque right on the table by the low-sodium soy sauce. 2 years ago, Mom and I brought her to a nursing home. It was one of the hardest things I'd ever had to do. Faith rode with us in the car for 2 blocks, but she couldn't handle watching Grandma just stare out the window. Faith jumped out at North Avenue and ran home crying. I visited Grandma at the home, taking the 151 bus up Sheridan Road, past Belmont Harbor to Shady Oaks Nursing Home where she lives. Her roommate Gladys always remembers me. Grandma remembers me sometimes. Mostly she remembers how I used to visit her when she lived in Wisconsin when I was small. I bring her flowers sometimes. Daisies are her favorites. I used to read to her from the newspaper, but she got depressed at how bad the world has gotten. Mostly I just sit with her and smile when she looks at me with her scared eyes. I tell her how when I get my own car, I'm going to take her for a ride, and we'll have a picnic with fried chicken and lemon cookies like we used to when I was little. Then I stand by the memory board I made her. It's a bulletin board with "I love you, Grandma" across the top in red felt letters. Below are photographs of me, Mom, and Faith, pieces of fabric like she had in her shop, a few postcards of Chicago, the satin ribbon she braided my hair with when I graduated from 8th grade, her huge flowered hat that she'd used to wear to church on Sundays. She goes up and touches the board sometimes, particularly the fabric, rolls and tweeds and silks between her fingers, and for that moment she seems connected. Before the Alzheimer's got really bad, she said to me, "Jenna Louise Buller, I'm counting on you. As this thing gets worse, you're going to have to help me remember. If I were God, I would wipe out every disease in the world, beginning with the A's. AIDS, alcoholism, Alzheimer's."